Hey, welcome to the Everbetter Project. This is the weekly update show or the weekend update show. I'm not going to be updating with news or anything like that. This is my commitment to you. This is one of the founding principles of this project. Whatever we do, I want it to be open source so that you can learn from it. You can learn what works, what doesn't. And one of those things is going to be this podcast. So on these shows, I'm going to go through what's working with the podcast, what isn't, where we are with subscribers, with downloads, and really give you a step-by-step process of how we grow it and how we're trying to grow it. And I think it's important, especially if you're considering going into marketing. There's a lot that can be gained by watching someone succeed or fail, which I'm equally likely to do in most of the things that I try. So I'm going to share with you the how the podcast did in its first week, which don't set your expectations too high. And go through the stats with you and show you where, if I see an opportunity for improvement or if I see something that looks like a good chance of something breaking out in the podcast or the project, I'm going to share that with you. So this is full transparency mode. I'll do this every Sunday with the podcast and the project and share with you the results. So to go through some of the stats, videos this week, I had 4 podcasts and 4 videos published on YouTube. Not impressive views, So in the podcast descriptions themselves, I probably didn't optimize these great. I didn't do any keyword research. These are not SEO or SEO optimized is a bit redundant, but these aren't probably the best written descriptions ever. I'm open for suggestions on how to do that better. I'm kind of learning YouTube as I go in that regard. The views, like it said, 7, 4, 8, 2, these probably aren't great. So the 2 that did get the highest, 8 and 7 respectively, were the perpetual AMA episodes. And I want to walk through part of the strategy as to why that might be, what I'm doing to hopefully get people. I treat those episodes as sort of an entry point to the podcast, and what need those serve, and then hopefully people check out the other types of shows and they think that it's intriguing enough to stay with it. So let me pull up one of the podcast posts here. So in the case of the AMA number 2, if you've listened to one of those shows, I go through and I answer questions off of the Find a Path and the Deciding to Be Better subreddits. I think that those people are pretty much in the same place I've been, where you're kind of trying to figure out what's next, and you're playing with different ideas and different possible career paths. And those are exactly the people that I want in this sphere of influence and to communicate with me and collaborate with me on these projects. So the way I approach them is I go through these 2 subreddits. I pick out questions that look like I have a decent answer to. I try to avoid anything that I think requires professional help. And if it does, I'll just say it up front and say I'm not qualified. But then I tag the people in them whose questions I answered. And in Reddit, you'll get a little notification that you've been tagged in something. And then I'll sometimes go to the original post as well and just mention, hey, I answered this on the podcast, and I give them the timestamp. I don't want to waste your time sifting through 8 to 40 minutes, depending on how long I go, of other people's questions. I want to give you exactly, you being the customer in this case, the person requesting information. I want to give you exactly what you came for. What I find in these subreddits, Deciding to Be Better and Find a Path, is that there is an unmet need. I think a lot of these posts go either without any comments, which has got to be disheartening to people who take the time to put themselves out there, or it gets very little engagement and a couple sentences. In each of these instances, I try to take at least 2 to 3 minutes to just speak face to face, face to camera, and subsequently their face to screen. I don't know. but I try to take the time to really answer thoroughly and give them a little bit of a human on the other end as opposed to text or something that a bot could have generated. I'm not accusing those subreddits of that happening. I'm just saying sometimes it feels a little bit better to have somebody look you in the eyes and give you advice. And that's the problem I'm trying to solve in those episodes. So presumably that's what gets somebody into the sphere here. And then they check out other episodes and maybe they like what they see and they think, this is a better information diet than I've been used to. So I think that that's worked with some success. Some of the people have engaged back. I track all of that on an Airtable that I'm going to share and have this publicly available so you can see and chart along the way what's working and what isn't. So in every episode, I have the Reddit guests. I have the timestamp where I answer their questions. I have their a link to their profile just so you can. That's how I tag them. What episode they appeared in, notes, whether they engaged back or not. You can see I got to update this. 2 people discombobulated can 8 also engaged back, and even if that's just a hey, thanks for the advice, it means I can verify them as a view. You don't really have eyes on who actually views your stuff. You just sort of see views, and you can sometimes tell analytics beyond that. But I like the idea of just tracking by engagements back. I know that's somebody that was actually looking for help and looking to engage beyond just putting it out there and then never responding to any of the responses. I have the links to the original posts if you want to see those. And yeah, so that's sort of phase 1 of the strategy. And then other things I'm considering doing with the podcast. I do a lot of homesteading stuff. I've got chickens, bees, all sorts of other things. I make kombucha, bread, all this other stuff. I'm thinking of making a series of videos about those. If you're interested in that, let me know. And those are a little bit easier to target. Those are niches where I think you can get people consuming your content a little bit easier, I hope. And those might be better ways. Some of those are visual things. Those might work better on the YouTube channel, and I might not put those out as podcasts per se, but just YouTube videos and see if I can get some growth that way. So that is that. If you go to the audio did a lot better than the video. This is in Libsyn is my host for the podcast. It's really easy to sign up if you've ever considered a podcast or are looking to. Reach out if you have any questions. It's really simple to get started. You don't need whatever fancy setup I've got with an EV microphone and mixer and all this. You can start with just your phone. And Libsyn makes it really, really easy to get it out to all the locations that it needs to be. And they have one dashboard where it's all tracked. So I just publish once and it goes to Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, every platform that you can imagine. But numbers wise, this did a little bit better. Honestly, for really not having done a lot on the promotion side or on the marketing side, I'll take 57 downloads in 4 episodes. That's pretty good. Not good, but it's not 0. Someone out there is hearing it, and I swear it isn't just me, my friends and family downloading this. I'm keeping them kind of separated from my marketing efforts with this until I want to avoid spoiling the sample here. You don't want to get. I truly want this to be a community, an organic community from the ground up. Without leveraging my own network until I choose to. So then the other experiment that I started and I think I'm going to try to run here is what I'm calling graduate give back. So around the country, here in my graduate program that I'm in, just announced they're canceling commencement, and they haven't really announced an alternative yet. And for people who are in school, I've spent 4 years there, or in my case, 2 years, and you put all this time and effort into, and you get to know all your classmates. Part of the what's the word? Not the catharsis, but the resolution to that is this senior week where you've got For us, we had a gala scheduled where you can invite your family and a picnic with the dean and all this stuff. And it's all just social gatherings and happy hours and things like that. But they go a long way in kind of closing that chapter of your life and letting you move on. And students right now are kind of left without that. So they put in all this work, but then they don't have this big celebration at the end. So I figured, how can we solve that problem? How can we give them a more positive note to leave on? And I had this idea of the graduate give back. So if you've taken business classes or you're getting your MBA or something, you've probably heard the term sunk cost before. It's when something is budgeted or spent already, and you're always supposed to ignore sunk costs. And sometimes it's it's wise to ignore sunk costs, even if they're just budgeted and not actually spent. Schools probably aren't going to refund the money for all these events that are canceled. Just give the students a check. I mean, that would be for people who took on debt to go into college. That would definitely be most helpful. Assume they're not going to do that, but because that doesn't get them as much cred as something like this does. So I want to have the school have an opportunity to make more out of that money than they otherwise would have. And I want students to have an experience that really cements a legacy for them and for their classmates and for the school and the community and so many other things. So take all the money this is a really long explanation of this, I know, but take all the money that you had planned for graduation, for senior week galas, happy hours, all of it. Figure out what the cost per head is, per student, and give that back to them to give to nonprofits in their community. In times like this, when philanthropy kind of dries up and people hang on to their money because the economy's uncertain. They've lost tens of thousands. Some people lost hundreds of thousands in their 401k in the past 2-3 weeks. That $100 donation that you make to the local Rotary or the local whatever organization that you usually donate to, some people put that on pause for a while. And nonprofits that really rely on these things, they play second fiddle to obviously taking care of your family and more important things. It's not anyone's fault. It's really a circumstance that comes about when this happens. And even government funding, if that's something they rely on, governments right now are at the state and national level are spending everything on getting supplies to hospitals and things that they need. So what a good way this might be to sort of rebalance that a little bit, or keep the stasis, if you will. Keep some of that funding that nonprofits are used to getting coming in, and to really cement a legacy for your class, for your school, and for your community. Then by having students choose a nonprofit that they believe in, that they maybe aligns with where their heart's at, where their mind is at, and allow them to give that back. I don't know what that per head cost is going to look like. I would guess it's over $1,000. So how do we tweak the levers to put pressure on the schools? Because I think it's a tough position for them if the students support this. If you can get a petition with more than 50% of your student body advocating for this, I don't know how you say no to it in administration. It just seems like a no-brainer, and they get something out of it. It isn't like it's just got to be totally altruistic. The university will get great press for this, and any school that does it, I imagine, especially the early adopters, will really get great PR for this and great marketing for years to come, that they stepped up at this time to help their community in a really meaningful way, and to allow students to get just a taste of that, what it feels like to give something that big back. It's a really amazing thing and a good habit that you want to develop in people when they're young, so that they hunger to do it more when they're older, and when they're more, hopefully, graduating school, you go on to become affluent or successful, whatever your definition of success is. but really to still have that charitable spirit years from now. So I hope that this helps with that. So I've started doing it with my own school, not doing it, it's not happening yet, but I've started to kind of rally support internally. And I'm going to keep tracking that progress here. But then I also thought, why does it have to just be my school? If anybody reads this at their school, what if I just made it really easy for them to do it by helping them start a petition, making a video to introduce it to their school and really speak directly to them, to challenge them to rally around this and support this. So in that spirit, I posted it in some other subreddits. There's a good ideas subreddit, a light bulb subreddit, and then there's a college subreddit that I couldn't cross post in, but I posted individually in. No engagement from those things so far. But then I thought, I've been struggling with whether I even want to use Facebook for this. But one of the good things about Facebook, if you're in marketing, is that you can target exactly who you're looking for. So in Facebook, I make this same post as the Reddit thread, and I can target people. In this case, I did 18 to 40 who go to universities who are graduating this year. You can get really, really specific with who you target. And the results of that are here. This is pretty good. So 43 engagements, 1,700 people reached. That's and 37 cents per engagement. That is a great value. You'll see Facebook does not think highly of the quality of my ad. That's because I put some of the things they don't like in there. They don't like you to say, tag your university. The call to action here is comment on this, tag your university, and that helps me get started with looking into your university, making sure that graduation is canceled, and then creating a custom petition page for your university and getting it out to them, because then I can run an ad specifically. So I had one response so far, a young woman from Sam Houston State University in Huntsville, Texas, and it's really easy. It's just reach out. I reached back out to her. I'm verifying that it's canceled. In the meantime, I'm starting the petition. I'm making just a personalized video appealing to them, and we'll see if we can get some good out of this. I can then run a follow-up ad just targeting Sam Houston State and saying, hey, you were nominated for this by one of your classmates. Let's get on board. This is what you can do to help. So for $15 spent, I got 43 engagements. That's people liking or sharing the page or the post. But I did get one seemingly good, legit, we'll call it a lead. It's not a lead in that I'm trying to sell or anything. It's just a lead in terms of something that might pan out and become this amplified thousands of dollars out into the world good. And if I can spend $15 or $15.81, we'll call it 16. If I can spend $16 to get thousands of dollars distributed to nonprofits, I'm going to do that every time. I'll do that until I'm broke, because that's amplifying my giving in this sense to this greater good. So I'll keep you posted on the graduate give back experiment. If you are at a university, you are a senior, and somehow you're listening to this, reach out or nominate your school. Reach out to us on Reddit or Facebook or anywhere really, and just nominate your school. We'll help you set up the petition, create videos for you, and run the targeted ads to reach the right people. That's the big thing, is sometimes especially when you're in college, your resources are limited. You probably think, I don't know how to make a difference, or it feels insurmountable without money. We're going to take that out of the equation. All you have to do is nominate a school, your school. And all you have to do is be dedicated to being an internal champion, to be willing to share it with your peers and with if you're friendly with teachers, share it with them. So that's a pretty simple ask, I think. And I hope that some of you take advantage of it, because it could be a really cool experiment. And maybe it's a better way to do graduation. Maybe we don't need a whole week of happy hours. I almost asked, how much can you drink? But I know I don't want to challenge anyone. So that's it for that. That's doing. We'll see how that goes. I don't want to say it's doing well yet, but the idea of these weekly shows, too, is really to hold myself accountable and to continually improve. If any of you have been in like an agile team at work or a Scrum team, some of the principles of that in software development are continuous improvement, and that's really, I mean, at the core of what this whole project is, right? Ever better. It's about continuous improvement. So this is my weekly check-in where I'm going to identify what went right, what went wrong, and what I can do better this week. So this week, what I'm committing to doing a little bit better than last week is with these AMA posts, I tend to just pick questions at random. But what I really probably should be selecting for is Redditors who are more engaged than usual with their posts or with the platform. Now, a lot of these, part of the nature of deciding to be better and find a path is sometimes people will use just burner accounts or throwaway accounts because they don't want to be tied to whatever the thing is that they're asking about. Maybe it's like my employer is kind of an asshole, and I'm thinking about leaving. Right? Obviously, make a throwaway. So the problem with that though is with throwaways, they'll make the post and then sometimes never hear from them again, or they won't follow up, or they definitely don't want to have attention drawn to them on something like this. So I'm going to avoid them and select for users with post histories that are a little bit more engaged. Because again, if you're one of those people now and you're listening to this in retrospect and you're like, how did he get to me? Listen, you're my people. You are exactly the people that are supposed to be here, helping with these experiments and helping move this along. And I think it can be really awesome. So, what else is going on? I'm also considering, I mentioned the kind of doing some homesteading videos. I might do that today with the uncertainty around supply chain for things like fresh vegetables and stuff like that. Starting an indoor vegetable garden. Going to get the outdoor garden going soon. And yeah, so maybe I'll make a video about that this week. I'm starting to make bread again with a sourdough starter. That's really easy, really, really simple. Everybody should be doing that. Making some more kombucha this week, and maybe I'll do a bee video too. But not all in this week, but maybe I'll film them and then release them, and I don't know. Whatever it is, I'll keep you posted. I'll keep you posted on how this goes, what's working, and maybe it inspires you. Maybe you want to start your own podcast someday, and you can learn what mistakes to avoid or how to set it up effectively and how to get to the right audience. So, with that said, I'm going to leave you for the day, and I'll be back tomorrow. I'm going to do Mondays. I'm going to keep doing this is going to be a brief show about random topics. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm going to try to stick to the perpetual AMAs. Wednesdays, comfort food for the end of the world. So, and then we'll squeeze the other videos in there somewhere. Have a good Sunday. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for engaging with this. I know there's a lot of stuff vying for your attention right now, more than ever. I really appreciate it and hope to hear from you soon. Thank you.